What's up, people? Welcome to another episode of Stars and Garters. I'm Katie Pettit, and today, okay, yes, I'm aware I did not do a Marvel Monday, but I'm going to say that today kind of counts for a Marvel Monday and a Top 10 Tuesday because it's Marvel and it's Top 10. I'm not really following any rules here because I don't really have them in the first place, but if I did, definitely not following here. But who cares? It's a podcast and it's whatever. So some of you, actually probably a lot of you, will recall that I made an episode with my father and we gave our top 5 Marvel characters of all time. And that was very good episode. It did very well because he's good at podcasts. He talks well and he knows things. He knows even more than me. So yeah. Tonight so just for the record, just to say this, um I didn't do the X-Men 97 review because I watched it yesterday at like 10 o'clock, so I didn't really have time. But I am going to do that review of the next episode. It was pretty awesome, so I will be doing that. Okay, but today, when I did that episode with my dad, I actually had a full top 10 ready. He just doesn't like top 10s. He thinks 5 is enough, 10 is too much. But I had a full top 10, so I thought that I would go over those bottom 5 but still in the top 10 characters. The ones who didn't quite make it enough for my dad's standards, but who made it to my top 10. Just because they deserve some recognition too. Not quite as much as the top 5, obviously, but these are the bottom half of the top 10, my top 10 Marvel characters of all time. It includes a lot more like niche characters for me, or like ones that I just didn't know much about, but still are great. They still are great, nonetheless. And we're going to talk about them today on this episode. Or I am, because you're not. Okay, let's get into it. So, it'll be 10 through 6. So, it'll be weird counting, but it works. It is what it is. Okay. At number 10, we actually have a bit of a classic, or one of the original X-Men. Just pretty much, you pretty much know him if you know X-Men at all. Not just Marvel in general, but if you know X-Men, then you know this guy. Because my number 10 is Beast, the blue fuzzy hands of Marvel. But yes, I do like Beast a lot. I don't have like any story specific to him, but the great thing about him is that he's kind of just always around. Cause he's Beast, he's always, involved in mutant stuff. Here's a good shot of him there saving someone, doing what he does in his ripped khakis. Of course he's wearing khakis. But Beast is just a great character. He has very distinct personality. I don't like the fact that they turned him into a villain in the more recent comics, but we're not going to talk about that because we're going to talk about the Beast that I know. And he's a very distinct person. He's very intelligent and he's very he's extremely classy. Just a great dude. He's so that's his thing. Just smart, classy guy. The most refined of the X-Men, and he's just very he's much more, I guess, grounded than them. So while you have kind of extreme, like you have crazy characters like Wolverine, who's super angry and also mad, or no, he's angry and brooding, almost. I don't know if brooding is the right word. And he's got a very bad temper, and you've got I don't know, Jean Grey, who's just full of drama all the time. You got Scott, who's like this crazy Boy Scout who also gets pretty intense, and Hank, he's there to keep it classy, you know? If you want just some good old common sense amidst a bunch of mutant drama, just turn to Hank. And he's just there to say something. You probably don't know what it means, but it sounds smart, and you can trust him. You can trust that he knows what he's talking about. Everyone trusts Beast, like, or at least from what I know. They just know how smart he is. He's like considered one of the smartest characters as far as I know. And you know, it's just a genius. I just every time I see him in the comics that I've read, it's just you know that this is Beast, and it's interesting. If because I have some comics, the all new X-Men series. I've talked about it a little bit. It's where the original 5 X-Men, which he was a part of, come into the present to try to fix something that's going on. So that includes the original Hank, and he actually wasn't originally blue and furry. He just had big hands and feet. So that was such a weird power to me. I'm actually pretty glad they made him blue and furry. Like, I mean, I honestly, it's so weird to see him not blue and furry. Like, and the big hands and feet, that's just a weird thing. So I'm glad they changed that. But it's interesting to kind of see how he's grown into the character he is, because teenage Hank is still extremely intelligent, but he's still a teenager, and he's like got that kind of angst and, you know, hair trigger temper that everybody else has because they're all teenagers. But now we know that grown up Hank is very intelligent. He's very good at dealing with problems because he knows how, and he's also not gonna go nuts about it. Like, even if it's like something very personal that affects him a lot, he's just so chill and like just very smooth about it. It's just a very distinct character that he is, and it's very enjoyable, very fun. He's not. Oh, I mean, he's not necessarily the most fun, but he's just a good guy to have around. You need at least one Beast in your friend group. I mean, like, everyone, you can have all the crazy types, but Beast is you need a Beast to keep it grounded. Yeah, classic. He's like the last. He's definitely the most classic in this part of the list. The top ones, the top 5, it kind of came into play how classic they were, but the bottom, it was just kind of like it was less strict. There was less qualifications needed. Top 5 was more serious. This one, it's kind of is a little looser, but so it's not gonna be as many super classics. The next one at number 9. I don't know if you could call her a classic. I personally don't know how long she has been around. I assume it's a while. But honestly, I know this person more from the MCU than the comics. But I have seen her in the comics some, and she's an incredibly important character in the comics. Like, probably almost definitely more so than she is in the MCU. Even though she has become a very important character in the MCU. Definitely more important character in the comics, and a way more important character to the X-Men than she is to the Avengers. But at number 9, we have Wanda Maximoff, the Scarlet Witch. She's I definitely got into it first because of the MCU, and I was still pretty young when like Age of Ultron came out. I don't know when that came out, but I was pretty young, and I watched it, and I was like, okay, she's young and she has magic and red and cool. So I already liked her from a while back, just because of those things. And so, but even though you don't make, the characters that you like when you're a kid aren't based off much, they still stick, and then you usually find stuff to like about them, like just more actual stuff to like about them later on, which was definitely what happened with me. Because her MCU stuff is great. up till WandaVision, and then I don't know why they just kind of overhauled that in Multiverse of Madness. We're not going to talk about that. But for, I guess the reason I like her so much is a little bit less about her personality, a little bit more about what she does, because she has very awesome powers. Like, I already liked telekinesis, telepathy, all of that. Just is classic cool power, you know what I mean? But hers is like, first of all, it's like times a million, and then she literally can just change reality. So that's really cool, and that makes for some very important events entirely based around her in X-Men continuity. Like, she's literally responsible for, what is it? M-Day. Yeah. That was all her. She did that. And, I mean, not that that's a good thing. It was actually a pretty bad thing, but she has very powerful superpowers, and I really like that. And it's really cool to see the stuff that she does. She just has an incredibly intriguing story. Just every time, because when you have crazy powers like that, you're gonna do crazy stuff. Crazy stuff is gonna happen to you. You're gonna have imaginary babies, but they become real, and you're gonna have robot husband, and things are gonna happen. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. In the comics, her backstory is a little, it's different than in the MCU, because I'm pretty sure it's a little complicated, but I'm like 90% sure that her dad is Magneto. That, I'm pretty sure. I think so. I feel like there's often like complications in the parental of these superheroes, but from what I've heard, that's her dad. Don't know who the mom is, or you know. And obviously he's Quicksilver's dad too. So that's interesting. She just, everything about her and surrounding her makes for great and incredibly fascinating like plots and storylines and everything. So she is just, it's, Beast is just a great character. And Wanda is more like a fascinating character, because everything that happens to her is just quite interesting and important to the rest of the universe, because she can do all the craziness. So here's a little panel of her doing her thing. Never liked her costume though. It was pretty cool in the MCU, but in the comics it's usually a little out there. I think it's better recently, probably because of the MCU. They're starting to incorporate that into the comics, but that's not an important part. I mean, it matters a little, but not much. Beast doesn't even really have a costume, because it always gets like ripped up, because he gets, well, no, that's not true. Anyway, doesn't really matter. He's a big blue fur thing. But, yeah, she's always intrigued me, and, I don't even know how I would describe her personality, but she's so fascinating. Everything that happens to her is just fascinating, and I just want to know more about her. I really want to read more about her, but she's been around for a decently long time. Nowhere near as long as some of the other characters I'm aware. She's not one of the oldest, whatever. But I'm just saying, I would have a lot to look into. It's so hard to find out how to actually read through a comic order of a character. It's ridiculously difficult to find out how to do that, and then actually get the comics. It's a whole thing. But I really, really want to know more about her, and I really want to own some comics about her. But when I get I don't know. I'll just, maybe I won't ever, but hopefully one day I will get a giant bookshelf, and I'll have 2 shelves dedicated to comics, so I can have all of hers, and then all of X-23's, and then all of another characters on this list, because those are the 3 that I want to have their entire stories, because I like them the best, and then also the characters that surround them are also really important to Marvel in general, so I figure I'll find out about the characters and I'll find about more of the universe. So, yeah. But yeah, Wanda Maximoff, incredibly intriguing and complex and just well fleshed out character. Okay. Moving on. Where did I put that? Put it over here. Moving on to number 8. Okay. This is an interesting one because it's basically entirely based on the MCU, which I didn't say Marvel Comics characters. I said Marvel characters. And that says a lot about how this person is portrayed in the MCU. He's done so well that he made it onto my overall favorite Marvel characters list. In the comics, I'm like pretty sure he's a lot more like basic and I don't know, just not as cool because he's so cool in the MCU. But all that said, number 8 is Loki. Yes. What is he? God of Mischief and all that. Okay. So, I don't even know if I really want to get into the comics because I'm pretty sure most times he's just like villain. And then the more recent comics have him more like the MCU. But, first of all, I don't know if anybody can get better than the MCU, which is crazy because, like, that doesn't happen a lot. I'm not going to say that about basically any of the other characters. But MCU Loki probably just blows comics Loki out of the water. I don't really want to look into him because I'm pretty sure he's just like a villain most of the time, just basic. I'm pretty sure he's one of the, by this point, low tier villains. Unless he got some sort of upgrade because they ran out of ideas. But anyway, in the MCU, he is just so slick. Like, he's just so cool. He's such a cool character. He's like just so charismatic and all of that. Like, everybody knows how cool he is. He's just awesome. And then he has this whole stinking arc that's just maybe the best in the entire MCU so far. That's saying something, but literally, if you want to go from like I don't feel like it's a stretch because he literally went from being the Avengers' first big bad to like he is literally holding the entire multiverse together right now, and he gave up everything to do that. So, I'm just saying, the arc is awesome. But every time he shows up, he's just great. Like, it's Tom Hiddleston's performance, obviously amazing, but like just every time he shows up, everyone's just happy to see him. He's gonna be fun. He's gonna be cool. He's gonna do some trickster stuff. He's gonna do some magic. He's gonna quip some lines off or whatever. He's just gonna be a great time to watch. And he got his own series. I mean, he got 2 seasons of his own series. That's pretty impressive, you know? And they were great. Both of them were actually really great. And, you know, he's gone through this whole story, and it's been so great. Like, it's all stayed in the character, like, it's stayed as who Loki is as a character. It's never gone off into something that, you know, oh, that's a bit of a stretch for Loki to do. It's like, the reason Loki is so cool of a character is because he became a hero while still being Loki. Like, there was no crazy shift in personality, it was just a shift in perspective, you know? He can be a hero like still being himself, which is crazy. So, you know, it's just he's one of the most well done characters in the whole thing. So cool and has a very obvious and likable outward appearance, but also a very complex and just thought through and easy to be interested in and want to follow story that has happened. I don't know if we'll see him anymore. Honestly, I don't know what's gonna happen. in the end. I don't know what's gonna happen for any of these movies. I don't know if they're gonna be good. I don't know who's gonna be in them. I literally have no clue about what is going to happen in these next movies. I can't even say that I don't want him to come back, but also you should just let people stay dead sometimes, which nobody has learned that. No one in entertainment ever learns that. Literally ever. So I'm not getting my hopes up, but I'm just saying, let people stay dead. Is it cool to see them back? Sure, sometimes, but then it gets old. Like, sometimes I'm just like, kill them. Just kill them. They don't need to be here. What is their purpose? You got some cheap cheers from the audience. Do better. But I think also he's gotten a very nice wrapped up story, so I don't know. Do what you will, Marvel. We're just gonna, or I don't know if we're. Some people have given up on you already. I'm just gonna sit back and I'm gonna see if you screw it up entirely. You haven't done it entirely yet. So I'm just waiting. Just waiting for it. And is Loki gonna be a part of that? I don't know. Choose wisely. I don't particularly have an opinion, because obviously I love his character. Again, specifically MCU version of the character got through on my top 10 Marvel characters just in general list, which is mostly based on the comics. So, but whatever. They're going to do what they're going to do, and it's going to be good or it's going to be bad. We just don't know. Just have to wait, and we have to trust. Actually, we don't have to trust them at all. I don't particularly. I just have hope. A little bit of it. Okay, anyway, that's a whole other episode, you guys. But we're gonna go ahead and move on. Number 7 is criminally underrated. And I mean that. I mean, just so few people know her. She's been on 2 teams. She's been in, like, I don't know, 4 series? I don't know, series? Just series? She's been around since, like, the 2010s, maybe, and probably a while into them. I don't know. I'm not for sure on this. I'm just saying she's new, but she's awesome. And it might be because she's a clone of somebody who's on this list, higher up. Because at number 7, I believe. Yes, 7. I have included Gabrielle Kinney / Honey Badger / Scout / whatever the rip her name is now. I have no clue. I liked Honey Badger a lot more because Honey Badgers are cool and she's cool. And Scout, okay, Scout had a whole meaning behind it, but still, it's not cool. It sounds lame. But whatever. Let's talk about Honey Badger. So yeah, she's a clone of a clone. It's fine. It's Marvel. They can do whatever they want with this stuff. But yeah, she's a clone of X-23, made by Robert Chandler, who's, just doing the classic thing, trying to make weapons. She was one of a lot of actually surviving clones, because X-23 is the only one who actually made it. Gabby has a lot of sisters, quote unquote. Most of them died. She has, like, one living sister. And I think she's actually doing okay. I don't know if she might be dead or villain. I don't know what's happening with the other sister because we're talking about Gabby right now. But basically, Gabby is, like, the youngest of the sisters, and so her whole energy is, like, this, like, young, incredibly excited to be there, just full of energy, super funny, does not hold back on anything she says ever. Sometimes not a great thing, but she's just incredibly fun little girl who is also a trained assassin. So, there's that whole thing. And that's just the best. It's so fun to see her have those 2 things and just do them so well. But this is her. It's not her solo comic, it's technically X-23's, but she's heavily featured because it's about her and X-23 trying to do like a vigilante thing together, and also just kind of be normal sisters, but like mutant normal sisters, if you know what I mean, because that's definitely different than just normal sisters. But yeah, she's just all around great. Everything she does, everything she says is just hilarious or awesome or just great in general. She's just the young characters, it depends. I mean, obviously young can mean different things. But like when you have a really young character, then like she's still young, like she's still like at least a teenager, and she's just, there's so many things that like she doesn't know, but she's also like just so unfiltered honest, and it's like one of the best things. Like a great thing about Gabby is that like her and Deadpool end up having very similar personalities, because they're both so like outspoken, but also like murderers. They're like funny and excitable and outspoken, but also definitely assassins. And like she's just the little girl version of that, and so they become best friends in one of my comic books. Is one of my favorite of all time because they're so hilarious together, and I love them. But just her whole vibe is so enjoyable. I love it. Every time she's on the page, it's just like, yes. Like, she's incredibly lovable, so funny, and just um her story is pretty interesting. Most of the time, the books that she's in are more focused on X because she's just more of a known character, and it's usually her story anyway. And Gabby is kind of like a side character to her, but she definitely does get some moments where she like learns about being a person, or like, just general stuff like that. The latest thing she's been in, as far as I believe, was like a New Mutant series. I think that was the latest thing I heard of, but it's the Krakoa era or age or whatever. I don't know. Um, Krakoan age of the X-Men comics has just ended, I believe, and they were in that age, so there were a bunch of these younger mutants living on Krakoa, and she was one of those that was kind of featured there. I don't have those comics. I am scared of new comics. They do things that are just so annoying, and it's just, there's so few that are actually enjoyable, and I just don't want to spend my money and be like, that was actually bad. Because again, I just don't ever say, "Oh, this was bad," after reading it the first time. It takes so long for me to be like, this is just bad. It's not good. But something she went through on Krakoa was that in Krakoa they have these mutants called the Five, that can like resurrect mutants, combining their powers. Technically, it's just cloning, but they call it like resurrecting them because it's a whole deal. They're not literally reviving the dead body, but they're like, it's cloning, but more so it's it's like as close as you can possibly get to having the person be alive again, I guess. But so anyway, saying that, for some reason I haven't looked into it. For some reason they did not allow the resurrection of clones because they just did not do that. It's kind of weird. I wonder why, but that was just not something that they allowed. So Gabby actually died during the New Mutants comic, and her friends broke the rules and went ahead and resurrected her and stuff. So that was something that happened. I don't know anything about it, but yeah, the main appeal of Gabby is just her as a character is amazing. It's so fun. Just it's a blast anytime she's on the screen. But she's also a kid, and she goes through kid things, and she learns about the world in a way that like the older characters just can't do because they already know things. But it's so fun to get to see the characters who actually have to learn the things, but also just be so enjoyable. while learning all these things. But yeah, great character. More people should know about her, and I hope that she gets more comics and that they are good. But I will have no way of knowing because I'm too scared to buy them. Or maybe I will. We'll just see. Alright. Wrapping up the bottom half of my top 10 with number 6. This one is interesting. It's a bit of a mix between MCU version and comics version. I haven't actually read any of the comics version. I've just done that extensive research thing that I do where it's like I've essentially read the comics, just not actually read them, which is still a thing that I like to do, even if I know what they say. It's just so cool. Anyway, but it's interesting. The story I know is not. It's not that similar to the comic story in the MCU, but the personality is almost identical in the MCU. And there's a lot of elements, and it's just the story is similar anyway. Or I mean, the story is like comparable anyway. It's like has mirrored elements, even though it's not really taken from the comics. I don't think as much. It was more incorporating other elements of the MCU into her specific story, but she is just great in general, and I find her very relatable sometimes. At number 6, we have Hawkeye Kate Bishop. So, yeah. I wonder if any people listening have a problem with me referring to her as Hawkeye. I don't, because Hawkeye referred to her as Hawkeye. So, like, I feel like that's okay when he was literally like, here, take the name. And so I feel like it's good. It's like when X-23 became Wolverine, she got the name. Like, it was given to her. She's not stealing it. But yeah. So Hawkeye Kate Bishop, she is just like, I never really found Hawkeye that cool because his personality was kind of like mid to me. They just didn't really have anything really that stuck out. And he was Arrows. I'll always loved the archery people. Archery's super cool. I wish I knew how to do a bunch of cool stuff, but I don't have money to get bows and all of that stuff. But yeah, archery has always been super, super cool to me. So I kind of thought that part was cool about him, but he's always been kind of the other Avenger. It's like he doesn't have superpowers, but he's not Iron Man, so he's kind of just pew pew, but like pew pew, So he was never fascinating to me. But then along came Kate Bishop, who is someone with a very cool and distinct and fun personality, brings the young person energy, like very much young person energy. She has a very just young and spunky and spirited personality, and then but also the archery and the coolness, and a different background from Hawkeye, and just a bunch of just much cooler energy than Clint Barton Hawkeye has, to me, in my personal opinion. But yeah, so Kate, her, I don't really know what her story is like. I don't know what like her backstory is necessarily. I know her dad, or I'm pretty sure her dad is like still alive in the comics, but I know she did grow up in a rich family, which is very interesting considering how she turned out. It's just a very cool thing to look at, but all of her stories are with the younger characters, and it's just she is like the embodiment of just like young teenage like overconfidence and just kind of like bravado, which it's always fun to play with that because you get to take it down a notch, and then she's actually skilled at stuff, but she's also not as skilled as she thinks, so you have to deal with that. And she's just like super tough and like she's like not afraid to get dirty, and she's just very willing to do anything, and she's just so cool. And I mean, she's really, for my target demographic, she's not for a lot of people because she is such a specific personality, and some people find her very relatable, and those people are going to be the ones who are most attracted to her as a character, and that's me. So I mean, this kind of, it was everything about her is going to appeal to me. So it's not really, I get it. If I'm not gonna be like, I'm not gonna, if you didn't like Wolverine, I'm not gonna say your opinion is stupid, because that's just a dumb statement anyway. But I would kind of be like, that's an interesting one, because not many people say that. But if you say you don't like Kate Bishop, I'd be like, yeah, that's fair. Not many people. I don't think. I mean, she's relatively popular, but it's with our kind of people, my kind of people. You know what I mean? It's a younger audience, and it's probably mostly females. But not because we needed like a female Hawkeye. Clint Barton's still out there. He's still kicking, and they're working together. They share the name in the comics. They literally actively share the name. It's not, she didn't steal anything, but she was just going to be a character that I liked. It was literally everything lined up perfectly for her to be someone that I liked. It's like personality is very relatable, and even when it's not, it's still really cool to me. And then archery. So yeah, just everything worked out there, and I want to know so much more about her. I do get kind of iffy on the Young Avengers comics, because those characters can fall into the woke spectrum, but I just don't know anymore. I know she has some solo comics. Maybe those are okay. Maybe I'll check those out. We'll have to see, because I'm still nervous, but I really would like to know more about her character in the comics, but also in the MCU. I'm very excited to see where she goes. Probably the MCU at this point, which is kind of weird to say, is probably safer and less nerve-wracking than the comics. But I'm hesitant to say that. But we will see where both of those go. But I hope they do good things by her character, because she's a very cool character. Okay. Yeah. That's it. That was the bottom half of my top 10 Marvel characters that Dad didn't let me say. So, yeah. That's the list. Thank you for, listening, watching, whatever you did to come by this. Go ahead and leave a comment about, like, what's one of your favorite Marvel characters that is, like, you think is maybe underrated? I'll say. Yeah, that'll be the comment. One of your favorite underrated Marvel characters. Can be from comics or movies. Probably gonna be from movies. Most of you don't know comics. And follow, share it. Yeah. Thanks again for listening or watching. Bye.